Welcome back to the Metal Exchange. I am Chris. I am here with Justin, and back again for the third time for Mr. Steve Williams, the second time for Mr. Steve Scott, both members of PowerQuest. They just played their first gig together with this Magic Never Dies lineup for the first time in 19 years in Ålesund, Norway at the Warriors of Steel Festival that was put on by Marius Danielson. I was there. I spoke about it on the last episode at length, but the guys wanted to come on and give their perspective from the on-stage point of view and the behind-the-scenes stuff. So we're happy to have you guys. Steve and Steve, welcome. Justin, good to see you. Let's dive right in it. Justin, I'll let you lead the charge with as far as questions go.
I will. Let me just start with a brief intro. When I heard you speak about this festival, I had this overwhelming sense of that I missed out on something, because I knew what the PowerQuest set was going to be. I've had the pleasure of seeing Vision Divine in the past. Obviously, this was something that I and many others would love to have attended, but in reality, there were 400 or 500 lucky people in Norway for this festival. So I want to kick it off not just with the fest, but with the lead up to the festival. Obviously, no matter how many times you guys have done this, you had to be a little bit antsy getting ready for what can only be described as like the comeback concert, right? Talk to me a little bit about your headspace leading up to the show, and exactly did you have the nerves like you were 16 again, or what was going through your mind as you got ready for this fest?
Well, evening, gents. Good to be back.
Yeah, good evening.
Shall I go first, Steve?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I think the whole lead up thing, for me was more certainly getting wound up about the travelling arrangements, much more so than the actual playing. I thought, well, I know I can play the songs. I know the guys can play the songs. Can we still play them all together? We'll find out. But in the meantime, I haven't been on a plane for a few years, and this is bothering me. So, as Steve and the rest of the boys will tell you, I was making probably rather more of a big deal of such things than A, I would have done in the past, and B, I should have done now. But like most things, it's like getting back on the bicycle, isn't it? So once I'd met up with Al at the airport, and we got going, and we met the rest of the lads in Amsterdam, it was like, I think this is going to be a cool few days. So I think that those were my initial thoughts. I don't know about you, Steve.
Yeah. The travel I didn't worry about because I've done quite a lot. And it's quite modernized now with all the apps, and it's so easy. But I was probably more worried about the music because not being on a heavy metal stage, and I don't have any gear. I don't have in-ears. I asked Marius if we can get an amp on stage, and he goes, everyone's just using, preamps and in-ears, and it's a silent stage. I was like, what the heck's a silent stage? I was like, so we were talking in the group chat, about gear and stuff. So I bought a preamp from, Sans Amp and stuff, and off Andrea, because he's got a massive studio. He gets a lot of gear and stuff. So, and then Alessio bought me a tuner, an on-stage tuner, because I just don't have any of that kind of gear. Huh. And in-ears, none of us. Oh no, Alessio and Andrea had in-ears, right, Steve? I think.
I don't think Andy did he?
I don't. Yeah. Okay. So we're very old school in that respect. So, and since that, I've upgraded a whole lot of gear and bought some new stuff, ready for Epic Fest.
Why have you done that
then? Yeah. So yeah. But there was definitely, I was nervous, probably the most out of all of us, I think. Oh, and then we find out that Francesco's injured his right calf muscle, ripped the muscle playing football like a kid when he shouldn't be. Just 2 weeks out of, and I was like, oh man, can you double kick? Is it all right? He's like, oh yeah, I'm fighting through it. I'm taking painkillers, and should be all right, and then a couple of days later he goes, guys, I went through the set, it's okay, it should be all right. Maybe I'll bring, some triggers or, we were just like everything backing up, just making sure we could do it. But, we arrived in Norway, all the gear arrived, everything's cool. We're all together. And then we went to the cottage.
We were on this campsite.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a chalet kind of deal, wasn't it? With, a bunch of bedrooms, a kitchen and a lounge kind of affair.
But it was great that I guess you got to all stay together and kind of just in the lead up to the actual performance. It sounds like the ideal place to kind of get your headspace right and rehearse a little bit and just kind of, get back into rhythm.
Well, literally, we dumped the bags and then he goes, okay, I'm going to pick you up and take you to the school for your first rehearsal. We're like, okay, we just traveled all day, let's do it. But actually, we fought through that, Steve? We kind of... We just...
But I think a lot of that, mate, was down to the fact that it never went dark in that place.
Yeah.
So your body wasn't getting that kind of natural sense of, it's getting time for... It was never time for bed.
Yeah,
that's how I felt as well.
Yeah.
No,
absolutely. But you're dead right. The sooner we dropped the bags than we were rehearsing, and that was only about an hour, wasn't it? Given that we had to move all the gear.
Yeah, because we set up, plugged in, and then someone plugged in something, and then all the power went out. Everything.
Oh.
So we were on another kind of power quest to find new power. So we had to move drum kit, everything, to another room. We took a line in from the kitchen and a line from another room to get power. And then we just went through the set, and it felt like we were back in London rehearsing for a tour. It was amazing.
What was that? What did that feel like, to that first rehearsal, just playing together for the first time in almost 2 decades? Like, was it more about the emotions and less about the actual music? I think at that point, just like that familiar feeling back again.
For me, it did. I was looking around just smiling. I was like, yeah, this is so cool, Yeah.
It's almost like a warm blanket or something that's just comfortable when something I think feels right, where you're brought back to a different time and a different place. And I think that once the jitters are gone and you're in the moment, I would imagine that there's not only an excitement, but just a comfort that's there. And it was like almost at that point you're on autopilot because you know the music. It's just a matter of getting in rhythm and getting in sync.
Yeah.
I think for me there was a sense, and I certainly felt this on stage, but certainly in the rehearsals as well, there was an element of that kind of shades of things once lost kind of thing. So we all remember what it was like to be on stage together. We all remember what it's like to tour together. But I didn't remember the specifics of the feelings. So when the guitar starts and you hear that massive monster sound again, you realise, we don't need 2 guitars here. And when Al opens his voice and Steve's bass comes in and he's, that's how we used to do it, And of course I was used to playing slightly different versions of the songs for a number of years. But slipping back into that, it was kind of hello old friend kind of thing. And the smiling thing, that was prevalent on everybody's face. Pretty much from the moment we met in Amsterdam till the moment we left Amsterdam when we were on the way back. But for me, it was, there's a great photo. Steve did a selfie thing where he's close up on himself and the rest of us are in the background. And he's got the biggest grin on his face that you could possibly imagine, and it's things like that, little moments that are captured. Mean so much in a sense,
Yeah, one thing
I can say the first time I saw all of you guys together was the night before the actual show at the pre-party, and my perspective as a fan was that you guys had been hanging out with each other for weeks, months, years. Like it didn't feel like to me that you had just reunited like earlier the day before, like it there was like this level of comfortability and familiarity that just came through. Like, you know, I was talking to you two guys and I look across the way and the three Italian fellas are chatting with each other over by the bar. And it just felt very familiar. And I know you guys all, you know, talk on you know, chat apps and everything, and you keep in touch and you have a group text and everything. But I mean, you know, I'm sure seeing each other in person for the first time, it just, I don't know. It felt like to me, like everything kind of just all that familiarity just came rushing back. That was the vibe I got, like meeting you guys and seeing you guys and like taking a photo. Like it was just like old friends, you know?
Well, it almost feels to me, well, no, it doesn't almost feel to me, it does feel to me like after all those years, we're actually now closer than we were then, if that makes sense. And
it was the old adage, absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? Maybe it's one of those deals.
Absolutely, there'd be an element of that in there for sure. But I think you can see it in, we had a lovely day on the Thursday before the pre-party where we were basically all just wandering around the town, you know, stopping for a bit of breakfast, stopping for a bit of lunch. And it was all of us together.
Yeah.
Now, years ago, it might have been, two would go and do one thing and three would do another and that kind of thing. But I think everybody, certainly for me, you know, I haven't questioned the guys on this at all. But for me, it felt like everybody was enjoying each other's company so much. It wouldn't matter which two people you put in an interview like this, for example.
Yeah.
You know, the banter would be there. And the thing, I don't know about you, Steve, with both of us being that little bit older than the rest of the guys, that was way more obvious back in the day than it is now. And I think that creates that closeness feeling, I think.
Yeah, because it seems like we're all on the same page more than it was. Because, you know, when we first met Alessio, he couldn't even speak English when he was like 20, 21 or whatever. So, but, you know, now there's a lot of, you know, he's been living in London for ages and, it was really nice. And just like having a morning cup of coffee and tea in the morning and just hanging out around the breakfast table at the camp and we're just talking about life, you know, and it was great. Yeah, it was really good.
I think there's a big difference between a bunch of 20-year-olds hanging out with a bunch of 35-year-olds than when it's a bunch of 40-year-olds hanging out with a bunch of 55-year-olds. I think that there's I think like you've been through your 20s and 30s. That's like a really formidable time of your life. And so like, I don't know, I was speaking as somebody in his, let's say mid 40s, you know, like you feel like people that are a little bit older than you are kind of at, even if they're 55, 60 or whatever, they're kind of, you know, in that same spot as you. Whereas when you're like 20 or 25, you still have things to figure out. You still have life to live and stuff. So that makes total sense. And I definitely got that vibe that like, it wasn't like two adults and three kids anymore. It was five adults that, you know, where,
it's funny.
I mean, I didn't tell, I'll have to tell the story, that Francesco told me later on. I forgot to mention it when we talked in the last episode. It's a tremendous story about, his dad calling the U.S. Embassy or writing a letter to the U.S. Embassy. I don't know if you guys heard the story. He told me the story about after the Prague Power gig fell through in 2009. I guess I can just tell it now, but he was getting married at the time, and his dad, I guess, wrote a letter to the U.S. Embassy just saying, hey, my son was supposed to go to the U.S. and play a gig, but it got canceled because there was visa issues. But he's getting married. Would President Barack Obama like to attend my son's wedding? And I mean, you know, worth the shot. You know, you got to ask, or else you'll never know. And so he told me one day the phone rings, and it's somebody from the U.S. Embassy, and they're like, hey, is this Francesco Tresca? And he was like, yeah. He's like, your father wrote us a letter. Please let us know the date again of your wedding. And so he gives them the date, and he goes, Mr. Obama is going to be busy that day, but he was like, and I'm just standing there on the phone and I'm sweating bullets. I'm like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. And such a great story. That, like, I'd never even spoken to Francesco up until the last weekend, and he's what a great guy. I shouldn't be surprised. Like, everybody I've ever met that's ever been in Power Quest has been great, but I thought that was such an awesome story. So sorry to interrupt. Please continue.
Oh no, Francesco's one of those. He always was, even 20 years ago when he barely spoke any English. But he's the kind of master of that deadpan one-liner.
Yeah,
you know, and nothing on the face either. You know, just like,
yeah,
killing yourselves laughing, and he's still straight faced. You know.
Yep.
At first I was like, oh, is he going to be a tough nut to crack? But no, he's just very. He seems very serious, but he's actually very. He showed me a side of levity on his side of levity that I was like, okay, he's definitely a Power Quest guy.
yeah, it was good. And then, I mean, we that Thursday, I think we did coffee and a cake, and then we went for probably the best fish and chips in the world, but it maybe wasn't the best, but no, it was all right.
Was it?
And then I think then we had a practice again at the school, but the school was still open, so we had these kids peering through the windows at us.
Oh wow!
All lined up against the windows.
I was 6 years old.
Was it just the kids, or was Marius there as well? I'm curious to know. No,
Marius was, him and his brother were hanging out kind of in the background.
Nice.
Well,
But they were waiting for us to finish, right, to take the gear, then to set up for his gig, you know. So,
while we're talking about Marius, though, it might be a kind of pertinent time to just kind of remind everybody what a big part he played in all this. You know, because back last summer, you know, he'd been trying to get hold of me on social media, getting nowhere and all that. Eventually got hold of me through Yuko, and was asking initially if me and Al would go and, you know, do a thing, and he'd put a band together for us. So I said to Al, do you want to do that? He said no. But if you can get the rest of the guys to, you know, from the classic era, if you like, then I will do it. So we put that to Marius, and Marius was like, oh, hold on a minute, I didn't even think that was a thing that was on the table. And I said, well, it wasn't. But the point of all that is that it was his enthusiasm and his determination to get hold of me. You know, after 2 or 3 messages and you don't get a reply, most people will go, what an ignorant bastard, and be done with it. But he persevered, and that's what's led to all this, in a sense. Well, not in a sense, that is what's led to it. So people, you know, were saying to us, well, why did you decide to get back together? Well, we kind of didn't, in a sense. You know,
Marius did it for you.
Yeah. And little did we know what a great time we were going to have, or what great time we did have.
Yeah, it was really.
I had said to him on social media, I said, you never know the answer if you don't ask the question. So
exactly. Yeah.
Had the band ever played Norway before, or was this the first time that you've played there?
No, we were talking of cancelled festivals. We were booked for a festival in Oslo in 2011 or 2012, something like that. That fell through. So no, you know, played Sweden before a couple of times, not with PQ, but with other bands, not Eden's Curse. But no, I'd never ventured that far north, as it were. But yeah, what a place, and what a bunch of people as well.
Yeah.
When you were constructing the set list, I know that we spoke last time, and we're going to focus on those first 3 albums. Did you find it to be a struggle as to which songs to choose from those first 3, or did it seem like it was almost obvious just based on, you know, what the fans have requested in the past and things like that, or how did that come about?
Steve?
Yeah, it was a WhatsApp group conversation started it all, didn't it?
It did. I mean, I think we all agreed initially on the first lineup of the set, really. We were just changing the order or the sequence a little bit wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was one of those ones. Given the time constraints, what did we do? 8 songs. I think
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
If we'd have had 12 or even 10, it would have just given that little bit more room to drop in a couple of other things that I would have liked to have done as well. But don't get me wrong, I think what we did do, at least from a band perspective and watching some of the footage back, I think we didn't pick something we shouldn't. I think everything went down really, really well. I think
we pretty much.
It felt like the songs were the songs where if you were a casual fan of the band and you only knew 6 or 7 songs, you hit those songs that I think most people would recognize.
Yeah, pretty much the classic kind of power metal hits, so to speak, that we have on YouTube, and of those 3 albums. Yeah, it was pretty fast set. I mean, it was a lot of double kicks, some very fast songs, and then the edge of time to give everyone a bit of a breather.
That's kind of what I'm driving at. I think in a perfect world, an extra couple of songs, you could have dropped in another breather song.
Yeah.
Just because it's that kind of, you don't want to be going at 100% all the time. You need a bit.
No, you want the peaks and the valleys, as it were.
But
we were
Alessio
certainly going at 100% for a lot of that.
I think Alessio had a really good plan with what he was going to say and do, and we all had that structured out and and suit his voice and warm him up and sort of grab the audience as well. I think I loved that set, actually. I think it really worked really well.
It was immediately noticeable to me when I was watching videos on YouTube, not just how good everybody sounded. I mean, you're obviously watching something on a cell phone video for the most part, but how energetic the crowd was. I know it wasn't a stadium with 40,000 people. I know that.
Yeah.
But the 400 or 500 people in the room were so energetic that you might as well have been playing in front of a crowd that was 10 times that size. Did you get that feeling on stage as well? Because I certainly did on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they were really in your face. I mean, I could hear Johannes Guy Blazers singing along, right to me. He was right camera up to my face sometimes and singing back to him. But it was awesome, the crowd. I mean, they really knew every lyric, Chris especially. But no, it was so good, and with so many friends that I haven't seen for ages from UK and people from USA and Japan and around Europe. It was fantastic.
I think that whole reconnecting with people, certainly, I suppose for both of us, Steve, really, it's been a while.
Yeah.
But reconnecting with people from way back when, and remembering stories from back then, and remembering experiences you shared together, even though you haven't seen each other for so long, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was incredible, really, and yet more of that. And this is what makes this band special for me. People coming up to me, and I'm sure the other guys have experienced it as well, and just telling me stories of how a particular album changed their life in the sense of it helped them through a difficult time or whatever it might have been, on a personal level. And I've always said that kind of thing is just the most magical thing ever. That a bunch of guys somewhere in the world can do something, and then it can affect somebody thousands of miles away, to the point that they will then travel those thousands of miles to come and see you, and that it's so humbling. And as I've got older, I think I appreciate that far more. I always did, but far, far more.
Yeah, same.
Well, I think to that point, Chris was saying we had observed this festival last year and the lineup was good, but the catalyst, the real reason why he went, I don't think I'm revealing trade secrets here, is because Power Quest had gotten back together, and that was really the impetus for getting him to Norway. And I'm obviously he's sitting here, so he could have told you the same thing, but that obviously because that was what was going to get him really, thousands and thousands of miles away.
And I also didn't know if there would be another opportunity to do so. It turns out that there might be another opportunity. We know that there's going to be another show in Denmark next year. And fast forwarding just a little bit, while talking about set lists, would you be content in kind of keeping the set list intact, or would you like to kind of each show sneak in another track that maybe you didn't play at the previous show just to keep people on their toes, or is it easier to just kind of stick to the tried and true songs? I don't know. Like, to me, like, I like all the songs equally, so it doesn't matter to me. But like, I'm just curious if that's something. Maybe we're just getting too far in the weeds as far as in the future. But were there songs where you're like, damn, I wish I'd played Hold On to Love or Diamond Sky or something like that?
Well, we talked quite a bit about this, whilst we were in Norway, and that was one of the beauties of being in that kind of communal space in the chalet. But, songs like Diamond Sky, there's a lot of love for that, I think, down the years. Never been played. And, my view nowadays is not so much whether I like a song more than another song. It's more about, well, if people want to hear it, then I'm open to playing it. That kind of thing, so there'd be something like that. Forevermore is always one that is close to my heart. I think it's one of our most catchy things. Yeah. And it's great as that kind of level dropper just to get people into kind of stadium rock mode for a bit and before you take off again. And even
I was telling Justin that before I even left, I was like, I know it's a 10-minute song and I know it would be, they could play 2 songs instead, but if they played Lost Without You, I wouldn't complain. 10 minutes of that. That song's such a beautiful tune to me, and it has like a slow part and a fast part, and it's such a like a little bit of everything that Power Quest does well, all in one song. But also, much like you play that and then you play Neverworld, and there's a third of your set that's being used in 2 songs.
Exactly,
so like,
Yeah, that's the Dream Theater problem, right? Where they can play an entire set of 3 hours and play 4 songs. Yeah. It's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah.
I think Lost Without You is another one that I've got a really soft spot for that. I've said to Steve many times down the years that his bass playing on that track is half what makes the song what it is. It's just so melodic and groovy. It's fantastic. But when we did that song in 2019 at what was previously the last gig, and we had Richard West and his wife doing the duet with Ash kind of thing. I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed the whole process because it's a pretty complex song. Enjoyed working out, which of these keyboard parts, because me, there's nothing going to be on a laptop or anything like that. Which are the key parts that I need to learn so that this song sounds like it's got everything there, even if it actually hasn't got everything. So I enjoyed that whole process, and I'd love to do that again. If we could get the right guest singer, I'd be totally up for doing that sometime in the future. But I think for Epic Fest next year, I would imagine it'll be similar to what we did this year. Yeah. But I don't think we can just keep churning out the same thing 100% kind of thing.
Well, that also got me thinking that, like, initially the plan was to come to Prague Power USA and do an anniversary set for Magic Never Dies, and unfortunately, because of the pandemic and everything, that kind of fell through. But now you have the perfect lineup to go out and play that album in its entirety. So I'm thinking, like, maybe when the 20th anniversary rolls around, it might be a good time to do that whole album and try to keep the, you guys have done Wings of Forever, you guys have done Neverworld, maybe that's something down the line that could be really cool. And then you get to play Diamond Sky, so it works out for everybody.
You never know.
I think coming back to your question about the show in Norway, though, and the crowd, the minute the intro tape hit, that was when I think I fully 100% realised what was going on, in the sense, right, we're back at it. That this is a few seconds away now. and on you walk, and the minute Francesco went out, the reaction was great. I thought, the crowd's going to be with us.
This was me. I was like, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry.
It really was like a big big happy family though. That crowd, it was awesome. Yeah. Awesome.
One of the things that came up in conversations afterwards with musicians as opposed to purely just fans. Ola from Insania being one of the guys, and the Marius singer from Legend of Valley Doom was the other. They both said to me, "You smile the whole show." Nobody does this. It's incredible. It's fantastic. Followed shortly by, "Why were you guys never big back in the day? This makes no sense." I'm thinking these are guys who are peers in a sense,
Yeah.
And to have that kind of reaction that people notice the enjoyment, and as I always say, there's enough aggravation in the world, isn't there, without trying to be a hard man on stage and all that kind of stuff. People ever more so, I think, come to these kind of events to see smiles. Yes, they want to hear the music, but they want to see it in a friendly, welcoming environment. And maybe that's not very black metal or whatever, and so be it. But you know what I mean.
But you make a great point, because as I was talking about the fans and their reaction, which was obvious to me, the flip side is, I think for the fans, it's obvious that the guys on stage were having a good time, because I think it works both ways. And I think there's almost like a symbiotic relationship there. Mm-hmm. When you can tell the band is having a good time, it energizes the crowd. And so Absolutely. I think they feed off of each other.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of the reason here. I mean, I saw that video, Chris, where I guess it was you, Johannes, and some other gentleman were belting out the lyrics. And I know that if I was on stage, you wouldn't be able to wipe the smile off of my face when I saw that just feet in front of me. So I can appreciate both sides of it.
Yeah. Well,
people were turning around and recording the crowd at certain points, because the crowd was just as much into what was happening as the band. It was like you said, like a symbiosis of just one giant family off stage and on stage, just essentially like having a big party, like a big musical party is really what it felt like.
Yeah, because you guys were right in front of me, and I was like watching you have a good time. I was like, "Oh, jeez, where am I?" I was like, you sort of drift away in that moment, and
during the previous about the 6'5" gentleman both standing in front of you. Nothing distracting at all.
Johannes's buddy was like 6'8" standing next to me, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like I'm looking up at this guy. But I was like, during the previous set, I was creeping my way up to the front. Each time somebody walked away, I would just move up a little bit further, because I was like, by the time Power Quest goes on, I need to at least get close to the rail, and then Kelly showed up, and I dragged her into it, and she didn't. The last concert she went to was like a folk rock concert, so this was like mind-boggling for her. It was cool getting to experience that with her. Like I waited 20 years to see that lineup play, and she just like waltzes right in, and you're like, yeah, sure, whatever.
I'm surprised you didn't.
It was.
I'm surprised you didn't hop on that guy's shoulders. Then you would have got the complete view,
Well, then we would have had to take a trip to the hospital in a foreign country. So.
Just to kind of allude to what you were talking about earlier, obviously Power Quest has been announced for the Epic Fest next April 9th and 10th in Denmark. I actually had this festival on my calendar for this year. The lineup was great, but next year's lineup with Hammerfall, Power Quest, Freedom Call, Power Palette, and again, your bandmates or your colleagues that shared the stage with you in Norway, amongst several other bands yet to be announced as well. 10 months is a long time, but I'm sure you're obviously excited based on just the feedback and the positive energy that you got in Norway just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one. Yeah. That's a pure power metal festival of 2 days of just digga double click. So yeah, it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, Because I like watching the other
Yeah.
bands as well. I'm a music fan, so it's going to be cool.
Well, talking of Power Paladin, those fellas turned out to be a really nice bunch of guys.
Yeah.
And they were in a chalet opposite, well, two chalets opposite us on the campsite, and were giving it the old, "Oh, you've got a microwave. Oh, you've got a cooker. Oh." But yeah, we hit it off with them, particularly at the gig. We watched them, they watched us, and then with me being that bit older, I was sort of regaling them with a few tales from doing the old. Well, back when we toured with Halloween, that kind of stuff, which is great. So I said, "Look, guys, why don't you come back to the chalet afterwards when we're all back, and we'll all sit and have a few beers." We had a nice couple of hours, didn't we, Steve?
We did.
Really
Yeah,
good.
they bought a load of beers. Well, they can drink. Yeah.
Kids these days, they're a band that Chris and I have talked about here and there, just because we thought their last album that came out earlier this year was fantastic. So I'm glad to see that they're kind of doing the festival circuit as well. I have a feeling that if Power Quest was to play more shows, not just Epic Fest, but anything else in the future, there's probably going to be a good chance that you're going to see Power Paladin on those bills, because if you like one, you probably are going to like the other.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely, and it's great to see a bunch of guys who are quite a bit younger than us, but they're all family men. They don't want to go on long tours; they just want to do festivals, sort of in and outs and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which fair play. You know what you're working with and all that kind of thing. But I suppose for us, I think festivals are pretty straightforward, as we found with that trip. It was good to understand the lie of the land from that point of view. Touring will be a different thing entirely, I think, in terms of, well, so many variables in there that never used to be there, and finding the right thing to be a part of and so on and so forth might be quite challenging.
Yeah.
But that's not to say, we're not looking to the future and thinking, oh, well, we'll do Epic Festa. I'll see you later, boys. No, that's not how I'm thinking anyway.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
It's a good setup, because just go once or twice a year to a festival, play a show together. Like, you aren't bound to do full-fledged tours and make an album every year. And like, you guys have already paid your dues. You have your fans. Now you it's almost just like a celebration of the band's history. It doesn't require what was being done when you guys were younger, and we're really trying to put your name out there and put a stamp on the world. Like, it's stamped. So now we can just celebrate. And I think it just, to me, I feel like it's probably easier for you guys this way, where it's just like, we can just go out, you can go back to doing your day-to-day jobs and lives and whatever. But then you have these little like holidays to look forward to. It's kind of how we look at it as fans. Like, we go to our couple of festivals a year. I mean, you can kind of look at it as a band. I mean, listen, I'm not going to say no to new recordings or new songs or a US tour or anything like that. But like, I get that, but it's completely, to me, unnecessary. It would be great, but it's unnecessary, because I think that what that show in Norway showed is that, like, we're just celebrating that the band is still here and is still playing, and that's really kind of all you need.
Yeah, it did feel like that. I mean, we're kind of, we do have the legacy of the songs and the albums that, I mean, we didn't tour that often, to be honest. We really didn't. So it's nice just playing those songs that, we've already done 20 years ago, recorded, to play them again live. But I mean, I'll tell you what, Alessio and Andre were just amazing on stage. When I'm looking at the YouTube, man, those guys are pros as, like, wow. And Alessio's still got the pipes,
I didn't appreciate it at all from my position. I appreciated the show, and I thought, this is one of the best shows I've ever been involved in. That much was quite apparent from my riser at the back. But watching the clips on YouTube and other clips that people have sent me, I was just quite literally going, oh my God. he's turned into like one of the best frontmen I've ever seen. It was this palm of your hand stuff from the minute he walked on stage, and he just had this knowing look in his eye that everything was under control. Yeah. Everybody was with him, and I'm not one for watching clips over and over again, but I've watched a few of these many times, so I'm just thinking, did I just see what I thought I saw?
Yeah,
I did. And similarly with Andrea,
it was shredding.
He's two guitar players in one, isn't he?
Yeah. And it's such a good distortion sound. I mean, I love his tone now, what he's got, what he's using. It's just awesome.
And this is all a product of, as we were alluding to earlier, experience, musical experience, but perhaps more importantly, life experience. And just seeing the two of them, and Francesco as well, it's not easy to do his job. Solid. But the boys at the front always get the plaudits, and rightly so a lot of the time. And on this occasion, it was real theatre, I thought, from all three of you at the front, to be fair. It's
Alessio did the whole, it was after, I think, the first song, he was just like, it was classic, like arena rock, like, hey, Steve, have you ever been to Norway? Hey, Steve Scott, have you ever been to Norway? What about you, Francesco? Like and everybody was so excited that like we were just eating out of his hand at that point. We were just like, whatever you say, Alessio, whatever you say, you're beautiful. But he really is like just, he has such a command of the crowd and his voice, and he's confident without coming across as cocky. Like it was great. Like it was just so cool to just the whole thing. Like I was positioned where Steve Scott was like directly in front of me, so I got to look at him pretty much the whole time, and he was just a business. It was a business-like bass playing, like just outstanding work. Like he. Like I could tell that he was really into what he was doing. As per usual, the last time I saw PowerQuest, Steve Williams was on the complete opposite side of the stage where I was, and it was the same thing again. So I have no pictures of Steve, but I could hear him, and that was the most important thing, because like the first minute or so of the first song, I don't know if the keyboards were being piped through, so I was like, oh God, I hope we can hear Steve's keyboards during the set.
Perennial problem of the keyboard player. Forget about the first.
Speaking of which, and I think Steve Williams, I think you'll really appreciate this, more than most, is that I was saying to Justin that like every single band that played at this festival had a keyboard player on stage, except for Marius's wife, and I think that was kind of like they had as many musicians as they could get together for that. It was like her first gig ever. They did a great job, but I know like the bass and the keyboards were pre-recorded, but every other band had somebody on stage playing keyboard. And I told Justin that the difference that makes, that when bands from Europe come over to the States and they have piped in keyboards or pre-recorded keyboards, it really takes away some of the humanity of the music, in my opinion, and that all the bands had a keyboard player, to me, made the sound just feel so much more full. And obviously, like, PowerQuest is a band where, like, without keyboards, there is no PowerQuest. Like, that is not all bands. Like, Halloween doesn't need to have a live keyboard player, but it'd be nice if they did. But, like, PowerQuest, that the music is very keyboard driven, and so all these other bands, same, like Power Paladin and Dragony and Vision Divine are all bands that have prominent keyboards. So to have somebody on stage actually playing their instrument made me happy, because there's been so many shows I've been to where I'm like, doesn't this band have a keyboard player? Half the music is keyboards. How is there not a guy on stage playing a keyboard? This is absurd. And I don't know. I mused to Justin. I was like, I don't know if it becomes like a budget thing where they're like, if there's one instrument we could pre-record, like that's the one. But I'm like, that's horseshit. Like get your keyboard player on the plane, and I don't want to see this non-keyboard shit anymore. Yeah. So that I was that was great. Like just that all, because I knew you guys were going to have a keyboard player on stage, but I didn't know that about all the other bands. And so it was such a pleasant,
interesting. Yeah.
I don't want to say surprise, but it was just pleasant to see all the members of the band actually on stage playing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not something you see very often, is it, these days?
Yeah. And plus,
Not unless it's like Dream Theater,
Oh yeah, that's true. And we have no clicks and no backing tracks, and so it's a little bit more raw, sort of, with the whole setup. And
I don't know if it's rawer, but it's definitely more organic.
Yeah.
Right.
In the sense.
Well, I would use the word authentic. I feel like it's more authentic also.
I mean, because we're probably speeding up and slowing down, but you don't feel it, but we probably are, because there's no click.
That's what music should be like.
Exactly. I like it too.
It shouldn't just be.
When it's too perfect,
Yeah.
I can listen to an album with my headphones if I want perfection. I know what the studio recording is like.
Sure.
To me, what makes the live show is when you have those subtle, I'm not going to call them mistakes, but sometimes you get into the energy and you speed up a little bit, or for dramatic effect, you slow down. To me, that's what makes a live show.
Yeah.
I don't want a recording that I could listen to. What am I paying for? I can do that at home. I don't need that.
Exactly.
I want to see that live element. It's another dimension that at least I appreciate. I know maybe other people want to hear the exact recording just in a live setting. That's not for me.
I think you can add that emotional feeling of the music when you're all in that one without the bounding of a click or something like that. That the endings might be stretched or the ballads will slow. There's that heartbeat that it's more authentic, like you said. Yeah.
What did you guys think about, just kind of rewinding a little bit, what did you guys think of the pre-party, and did you feel like that was a good way to like kind of loosen the nerves a little bit, but the night before a showtime, and just kind of have a little bit more of a casual vibe? Because I thought it was a blast. Like I decided to attend like 2 days before, because I just assumed like I'm going to be exhausted by then. But I was just riding like Steve mentioned before, like the sun never really went down. So like 7 o'clock rolled around, and I was like, what the hell? Let's just go. And it ended up being a lot of fun. Just talk about that a little bit, and just what that was like, because I thought that was a really nice idea that Marius put together.
Yeah, I think it was nice that it was a kind of gentle, low key kind of thing. We just couple of guys singing along with some backing tracks. Whether it's old Insania songs or if we even had some Pink Floyd for Marius, I think, and Billy Idol and stuff like that. And I think it was great. And the other great thing about it was it wasn't at such a volume that you had to wreck your vocal cords to have a conversation
perfect
with the guy next to you.
That's true. Yeah.
Ideal.
It was chilled.
And I don't know how many people were there. 70 or 80 maybe? They didn't seem that many.
No, it was
it was
small.
It was a small amount of people, but it was nice. It was very intimate, and you could have a conversation while the music was playing, like you said. And I was glad like that Kelly got to meet you guys before she saw you play, so she actually had like name to the face, before the actual show the next day.
That's
so,
yeah.
Were you guys surprised at how many people were like there and just like super excited to see you guys, and just were really amped up for the next day, other than me and Yuko and like the real lunatics
we're doing photos outside, and we actually did a newspaper interview or something, or an online interview outside, and I think we were the only band there that out of the other bands, right, Steve?
I think a couple of the Power Paladin guys showed up about halfway through, but I think you guys were the only like full band where all the whole band was there.
Yeah, and I love Insania. I love that guy. What's his name? Ola. Yeah, I love their accent, and I love his voice. It's really cool.
Yeah, the Sunrise in Riverland album, I think,
Yeah.
whenever that came out,
Yeah.
early noughties. That was one of the better ones at the time, I think.
Yeah.
Really good record.
That was fun. It was good. Just chill and meet people that we haven't seen for a long time as well. Yeah.
And I think the pre-party was, in a way, a precursor to what we found the following day. That there were quite a few people we knew. There were a few guys from the UK at the pre-party thing.
Yep.
And I didn't quite expect to see so many people from the UK. They seemed to be everywhere.
Too. Yeah, I was super surprised that, like, what? You came for this? Oh, man.
And there were things like, do you remember when you played in our town in Colchester back in 2006? Imagine Colchester. Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, you were wearing that shirt. Yeah, no, I can't remember now. Yeah.
So I have to ask. Obviously, as kind of you take the trip down memory lane, and you're playing all of these classics. I know the musician in you is always thinking about, like, oh, I've got ideas for other things, and I'm not asking you to reveal anything, but has the thought of potentially recording something new come across anybody's mind now that you've been in a room, you've played the festival, you've rehearsed for it and whatnot? Are new ideas starting to sprinkle into the consciousness? Say no more.
The book.
That's on a different page, Steve. I can see.
I know. That's why I'm getting excited. For those that don't know, the Book of Ideas just came out, so I'll just leave it at that. I'm glad to hear that we're at least thinking about it. That's really exciting.
And the other thing is, Steve is back on social media.
I saw that as well. Now, I'm not a big social media guy, but I did notice that Steve was back on, so that was interesting. I'll say that.
Yeah. Softly, I think, is the approach.
Nice.
You had a few hundred friend requests that you had to approve about.
Oh, I can only imagine. Yeah, that made me smile because I felt like I was like, I think Steve's getting the bug again. I don't know, man. I think he's just being around the fans and playing that show. It's just he's getting the bug. And I'll ask a follow-up question to Justin's question. I think we kind of have hinted at it as the conversations rolled on, but beyond Epic Fest in Denmark next year, do you guys feel like there will be more gigs? I feel like the answer is pretty obvious at this point, but I mean, do you feel like this is something that can continue as like a 2 or 3 shows per year sort of thing, and just kind of ride that wave and see where it goes?
I don't see why not. To the second part. To the first part,
that grin.
Classic, man. No, but the fly-in thing, I think, is more feasible. Yeah.
The only thing I would be critical of the weekend is not having all my own gear. That does make a massive difference. So I think next time round, although I brought one keyboard with me, I think the other one's going to have to come as well, even if it is going to cost a bit more, because some of the sounds, Maris's brother Peter worked quite hard to try and replicate some of the sounds on his Yamaha setup, but we weren't quite there. It was close, but not bang on. So that would be something that I think would have to, and smaller events, I understand, Prog Power's a bit different. You talk to those guys and they'll just give you a menu of keyboards to choose from. You go, well, 2 of them, 1 of them, and 1 of them. Thank you very much. And that's the ideal situation. But it's amazing how you can be a bit of a fish out of water, even though you know all the notes you got to play, because you're not familiar where all the patch buttons are and how many times you need to press some things to activate them, and so on and so forth. That can take all the fun out of the show if you're not careful. You can get obsessed with, oh my God, it's this bit coming up. And then you look at the set list and say, oh no, it's that song. That's got all these problem changes. That kind of thing. Yeah. Whereas if you've got your own setup, it's all the same as playing the actual notes then, because you're just familiar with it all, So that would be my only thing.
To that point, you guys are kind of scattered throughout the world, but I would say that just based on previous gigs that the UK is really the home of PowerQuest. So to that point, would you like to do at least one gig with this reunited lineup in back at the underground or just somewhere in the UK that I guess really for Steve Williams is a hometown gig for him where he can bring all of his gear, no problem. But I feel like the UK fans, I mean, I hate to ask all these questions about the US and stuff, so I'll just keep that to myself. But I'm sure the UK fans, like you said, they came to Norway. Would you like to put on a show in the hometown of PowerQuest, so to speak?
I'm sure that'll happen. I'm sure that will happen down the line next year, more than likely. The UK, well, as you know from the political side of things, the Brexit thing hasn't really helped matters. Which was one of the reasons we didn't have any merch and stuff like that at the Norway show. So we've got these extra things to balance nowadays, which in an odd sort of way could turn out to be a good thing in the sense that we'll have to, once we do start running up merch and stuff like that, that'll have to operate out of mainland Europe. Whether that's manufacture, storage, online sales, it's all going to have to come from that side. I would happily do it all, but the amount of taxes that are going to be involved, not only for us, but for the customers, it just means it's ridiculous. So we have to look at things a little bit differently than we did in the past, I think. But as I say, with everybody's that bit older, that bit more experienced, that bit more connected and all that kind of thing, I don't see any of these things as being hurdles that are, close to being insurmountable.
Yeah.
Well, before we let you guys go, obviously I'm excited, but I just wanted to get your final thoughts on this festival, the future, anything else that you want to add before we let you go, because you've been so gracious with your time.
I'm glad everything went smoothly. I think, there was a lot of apprehension, with the travel, I suppose, from Steve, and then there was no issues, and we all arrived, and all the gear arrived, so that was great. And just hanging out with the guys, coffees and going to the supermarket because, Francesco forgot his toothbrush and, and just doing those crazy little things and getting a bus all together, and just hanging out like that. That was really, really nice time spent. And it was, I don't think we've ever done that, really. We're just, it was different, and it felt different and felt good. And the festival was cool, really nice and easy. So I think kind of spurred us, to do more. And I think we're still buzzing 2 or 3 days afterwards. And then the videos come out and people are talking and forums and you see all the response, and it was great,
That's great.
Yeah. What do you think, Steve?
I think for me, I've said to Steve and the other guys, the overriding kind of emotion for me from the whole thing, and particularly on stage, was how proud I was of everyone, if that makes sense. It's just like you've all come back, it's all these years, a couple of hours, and it sounds like this. And a couple of people had said afterwards, it's not right that you can be that good after so long with virtually no rehearsal. It's just wrong. And well, it may well be, but that means that there is something special contained within, if you see what I mean. So I was just so proud of the guys, so proud to be doing it again with them. And it's things like that you could only ever recapture that feeling by doing what we did. No amount of talking about it or thinking about it would ever create that, So that's my view on it, and to be honest, I'm still buzzing now.
And I was, and I made it very clear to both of you that I was really honored to be there and be a part of it. And just, I said to both of you guys, like every cent, every mile, it was all totally worth it. And now I feel more comfortable with like making future trips to Europe. It's kind of a daunting idea until you actually do it. And so, if there happened to be a show in London or whatever, I don't know that I would feel uncomfortable just coming by myself, getting on a plane, coming to London and seeing a gig and staying for like a long weekend and then heading back. Like, just, I'm glad that I got that kind of experience in my back pocket, because flying, as Justin knows, has always been a bit of a hot button issue for me and a source of anxiety. And so to be free of that really just opens up so many possibilities. And so that it's exciting to granted, it's money is an issue when it comes to taking trips and stuff. But I have a feeling you guys haven't seen the last of me outside of the US. I'll just say that.
Well, one thing I would say, if you come to a PQ show anywhere really, but particularly in London, the vibe is very much like the vibe of that festival. That family friendly, everybody kind of knows everybody, and if they don't know them personally, they'll know them from social media and that kind of jazz. So yeah, you'd be well looked after, mate, if you do come over.
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm
bringing Justin with me this time.
Listen, I love London. I haven't been there in over 20 years, so I'm long.
Oh wow, okay.
Come back.
Well, what about Epic Fest? Are you interested in that or not?
I wanted to go this year, and I'm looking at the lineup for next year, and I don't see why I'm not interested again. I love almost every band that I saw that's already announced and more to come. So maybe we'll have to make it happen in 2027. It'll be I can start planning ahead and that sort of a thing.
Well, you never know. We might be able to put a few options on the table for you. You never know.
Hey, listen. I mean, I go on 70,000 tons of metal, that big cruise every single year. They have 60 bands from all over the world. I'm just saying, I know they're booking now, so I'll leave it there. And we'll go from there. And this way, nobody has to play in the U.S. because nobody wants to do that anyway. So, gentlemen, I will say on behalf of Chris and myself, and I'll let him take it home, but it's an absolute pleasure. I'm happy to hear that things are percolating again in your world. And on behalf of just the fans, thank you, because I know you're making a lot of people happy all around the world.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks very much, guys. Look forward to seeing you again soon, and great to meet you again in person, Chris.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that, mate.
Really nice.
Same. Steve Scott, got to meet you for the first time. What a pleasure that was. I will once again just say thank you for everything. It was such a tremendous, just a tremendous trip. We saw beautiful landscapes. I saw my favorite band play with their like classic lineup. I saw 5 other bands that were outstanding. Everybody at the festival really brought their A game and sounded great. Marius, what a wonderful guy, just super humble, super kind, very professional. I thought he did a really nice job with everything. And so, Steve Williams, congratulations. You are now the most appearances on the Metal Exchange podcast besides me and Justin. Steve Scott, you are tied for second place with Ash Edison, Olaf Thorson, and I don't know, Justin. Was there anybody else that's been on twice now? So
I have to dig in the archives and think. It's been a while.
Well, I look forward to extending my record soon.
There you go. Richard West was another one that we spoke to twice. So good, you're in good company. But yeah, like I always say, anytime you guys want to come on, talk about anything, you're always welcome.
Cool.
So thank you for your time. Thank you for the great show. And the quest continues. And
absolutely, eat more pasta.
That's about all I could.
Thanks for coming, though, Chris. Thanks for coming over. It was cool to see you. Yeah,
absolutely, big effort.
it was, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have missed it. And thankfully I'm at a place in my life where it's, fiscally and, time wise and anxiety wise, a doable thing for me. So, I was really happy to be able to be there. And I know that there were other people from the US in particular that really wished that they had gone. And I think after they saw those YouTube clips, all of a sudden, I think people were starting to book their flights to Denmark for next year. Like, I'm not going to miss that again. So I think
there's 3 guys from Canada as well. I don't know if you met them.
Wow.
And
I did not.
Crazy. Yeah.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, there was somebody from Brazil as well, if memory serves too.
Yeah. And Chile, wasn't it, as well? Or something.
I think there were more international visitors than Norwegians there, I think.
It was so incredible. Yeah, it was amazing.
I feel like we could probably sit here and talk about it for another hour, but I'll let you guys get on with your day. I know it's later where you guys are, and I think Steve Williams' cat needs something to eat or a little attention.
You got it.
So thanks again, fellas.
Thanks.
A really true pleasure. Justin, thank you for your patience listening to.
Listen, I could listen all day. Don't you don't have to thank me.
I know. I feel like that's all I've talked about for the last week. So I'll leave it with this. But we were on a boat looking at taking a tour of the fjords, one of the most beautiful places in the entire world. And at one point, Kelly just turned to me and she goes, we're looking at one of the most beautiful things in the entire world, and all you want to talk about is Power Quest. So, probably shouldn't come to a surprise to anyone.
It's funny.
Well, thank you again, fellas, and I'm sure we will be seeing you again on the Metal Exchange in the future. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
Take it easy. Have a good day.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.
So I walk this road without you now.